Welcome to Emerging Franchise Brands, the podcast that introduces you to the visionary founders of America's fastest growing franchise opportunities. We'll also hear from industry pros as they share insights on what it really takes to achieve the elusive milestone of 100 plus locations. I am your host, Frank Feely, founder of I9 Sports, and my 20-year journey from inception to acquisition has given me a unique perspective on how to succeed in franchising. Join me as we welcome today's guest. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. On today's show, I have the co-founder and CEO of Paymore, Stephen Preuss. Stephen, how are you?
Everything is great, Frank. Thanks for having me today. I look forward to our conversation.
I do too. A fellow Long Islander.
That's right. Don't hold it against me.
Don't hold it against me either.
We're in the same boat.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, Stephen, Paymore, you and Eric started the company in 2011, franchise since 2020. So tell me what Paymore is and how you guys got started.
Sure. So Paymore is a store, a local store that people can buy, sell, trade, and recycle electronics. Even though we've been franchising since 2020, we've been together now, our journey, Eric and I, for 20 years this year. Wow. We started in 2004, where we partnered on our initial secondhand store operation. We weren't focusing on electronics at that point in time. And we had a number of different service lines that we don't incorporate today, like consignment. So we initially ran that business from 2004 to 2010 for about 5 or 6 years. We did way more wrong than we did right, but we learned a lot. So that first tranche of time together, we were able to really dive in to some of the pillars and some of the building blocks of what Paymore is when we started and what it is today. We learned over that time, and this was getting into about 2010, electronics at that point in time was switching from a need to a necessity, right? Everyone had to have them, and everyone had it in their hands. It was by far our most voluminous product during that first stretch, especially towards the end. Certainly our most profitable product. Eric, my partner, also has a very deep background in electronics and coding and software, so it was a good fit there. And really, we wanted to not only focus on electronics because it was something that everyone had at their fingertips, and it was really coming into its own, but there really wasn't a lot of optionality out there at that point in time, and there really still isn't now outside of what we're doing, right? So if you want a phone, you go to Apple and you pay $3,000 for a phone, or you go to Best Buy and you get a gift card and you have to buy off their shelves new. So you get caught in that cycle. There's no place where you can go to a place and get last year's version or have optionality in pricing and different options on the store level. So we wanted to provide that optionality to the masses and that's what we've been doing since then. And then the other pillar that we learned is the secondhand industry as a whole. And again, outside of what we're doing, the secondhand industry back then and today, it's highly stigmatized. You think of secondhand industry, you think of pawn shop, right? You think of kind of seedy, kind of a bad location, something you wouldn't want your wife or your daughter to go to. You think of bad deals or one-sided deals. Eric and I grew up in middle-class families in Long Island, New York, and if there was a comfortable place for a secondhand market, especially for electronics and gaming, that we would get a fair deal, that was in a nice storefront, educated people working behind the counter, I think our families would have been there every week. So we really wanted to just disrupt the entire secondhand industry as a whole, the mindset, the experience, and really just revolutionize the way a secondhand store is looked upon and is visited. So we really took those two pillars, from that first stretch, and we said, listen, let's repermutate the business, let's rebrand the business, and focus on those two pillars. And that's what we did. In 2011, we took those kind of ideals and we rebranded the business as Paymore in 2011 in Massapequa, New York. and a brand new store that still stands as our corporate store today.
Wow. I love that you said early on, we made a lot of mistakes. I'm going to guess that you made a lot of mistakes, but you learned from them, and you probably didn't make the same mistake 2 or 3 times, right?
Yeah, that's Eric and I's moniker, is that, if we make the same mistake twice, just shame on us. So
Yeah.
I think that kind of takes us into like the next evolution of Paymore. When we started in 2011, the last piece of the puzzle was actually the software, the POS system.
Okay.
In the secondhand industry, again, everything's done in the shadows. There's really nothing off the shelf that we can use or go to. So going back to Eric's background again, which is heavy into the coding and technology. So listen, I'm just going to build it myself. I'm building our POS system. I'm building the spine of our business. And today, fast forward now 13, 14 years, it's revolutionary. The POS system is really what runs our business. It makes it efficient. It allows us to do those big sales that you see in our FDD, and is really the moat for anyone coming into our industry or competition, is that software. And that software allows us that when we make a mistake, he goes back in on the technology side and makes sure that it's automated, that we don't make that mistake twice.
Nice. How did you guys realize in 2004 that there was an opportunity? Like, what's the genesis of this? How you started this secondhand business?
So it was just by happenstance. We were introduced by a friend that said, "Hey, you guys have the same type of mindsets, and I think you guys balance each other out." Eric has heavy technology again, and I'm on the business end. So it was a balancing act between us, and we tossed around some ideas. We saw some stores and some companies doing well within that general space, and we were always hustlers. We were always, trying to make, deals and trying to do it in a nice fashion, good fashion.
Sure.
So we just kind of fell into it, and that's been our journey for the last 2 decades.
I love businesses that are in fragmented industries such as this, because you're dealing with competition of a lot of mom and pops, right?
That's right. Yeah, and I think the secondhand industry, and especially electronics, the sales are happening, but it's happening in, as you mentioned, in a fragmented way.
Right.
Our idea was really to take it to the next level and become kind of the Starbucks of used and pre-owned electronics, where when they see our brand, they know that the execution and the experience is going to be there, and they're going to get a fair deal. And I think one stat that we're very, very proud of, Frank, that has really kind of fortified and solidified what we've done, is that the average secondhand store repeat customer rate is about 7 to 8%. We wanted to really blow that up again and really change it. So as of this year, for the stores that we have that are open for more than 6 months, our repeat customer rate is nearly 76%.
Wow.
We're 900 to 1,000x what a typical secondhand store experiences. And that's because we've really focused on putting these stores into nice centers, with no issue with co-tenancy, making it a friendly experience. Our stores are beautiful and clean and well lit, not cluttered up with 1,000 items in the front. Our software and our technology allows us to be highly educated on what these items are worth and what we can pay for them.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking to give a good deal to the customer. So that whole experience is very sticky. And once they experience our execution, the way that we run our business for the secondhand store for pre-owned electronics, giving optionality, giving the customer power, they're coming back. So that's just kind of a pat on the back that what we set out to do in 2011, fast forward now in 2024, we've executed that on each one of these areas that we've opened the store, which, now we have 25 open, but now that we have 99 that are in the system under development, it's only a matter of time where we get that critical mass and we get that exposure throughout the country, where it's going to be a known brand. Right now we have that awareness where we put these stores, we typically become the highest secondhand grossing store in that area, in the first year or so. But now that we're getting to the point where we have almost 200 of these stores getting built out, it's only a matter of time until we get that exposure where people will know if they want a fair deal, clean deal, whatever they want to do with their electronics, they can take it to us instead of having it sit in in their closet or their drawer.
Well, I would imagine that one of the biggest questions a potential franchisee would have is, how do I know that I'm not paying too much? Now, I know that you mentioned like Eric is the brains behind the technology. And I assume with this proprietary software, you guys are able to, of course, identify the right pricing, but how real time or how up to date is it that people are not, as franchisee, I'm not overpaying?
That's a great question. And we pride ourselves in this because this is what allows us to not only give a fair deal and an accurate deal and to keep our healthy margins, but it's also a way to get the people in and out of the store, in a matter of 3 to 7 minutes because we have that information.
Wow.
As we like to say, we're a technology and data company that just happens to sell electronics. So this software is real time. And just think of a stock ticker, right? Where they have the trades going on all day. So the more stores we have, the more data that we have to be able to give to our stores that are existing and coming through the system. So they have access to every single trade that we have throughout the system, real time. So our stores that do, thousands of trades a year, it augments this data and it lays it out to them that if they're having a certain product, it'll show them the last 5 products that have been bought and sold within that day or within that week. So they have this information that allows them to pay within a range that they know what their margin will be. So this technology, which is obviously no one else has this because they don't have the data or the volume, allows our stores to make very, very smart buying decisions and allows somebody to come in after training and be an expert right away because you have this data that's readily available to you.
That's brilliant, man. I mean, you know the market because you're creating it.
That's correct. Yeah, we're one of one. We're creating the market, and then we have that data that's pushed down to the stores on a daily basis. And we have 25 stores open now. By the end of the year, we're going to have at least 75. So we're having 75 stores of data getting pushed down, where we're going to know exactly down to the penny what somebody should pay. And the product moves so quickly. If you're buying it and you're following our system, you're able to sell this product same day. If you have no hold period for your local municipality, you're able to trade that product out same day. So we're able to pay for it smartly and we're able to move it quickly.
What would you say that maybe the top 5 products that you guys are moving?
So obviously everyone's fighting for the Apple phone. And that's great. The margins are a little bit lower on that because you have to be very competitive. What we like to say is that we're a portfolio buyer. You may have this one-off store or this mom and pop store, and all they want is really the best of the best. That Apple phone that just came out or last year's version. What we do the best on is what they come in with that phone. So we'll buy any type of electronic, anything that you can plug in or has a battery to it, or anything within that periphery. So we make, our living off of what they bring in that box. So that soccer mom that comes in with her kids with that basket full of electronics, the phone is great, but we're buying the lens off your camera. We're buying some Bose speakers from 10 years ago. We're buying, anything along those lines, your retro gaming, yesterday's favorites. So, we're able to put a dollar amount on and give a fair deal on just about anything that you could bring in, within that kind of greater electronics, sphere. And if we can't buy it from you, and if there's no value to it, we're recycling centers as well. So we're big on e-waste and keeping that out of landfills. So we're very green, and that's a big initiative for us as well to make sure that we're making the world a better place. By sensibly recycling products as well.
And that's a big part probably for your franchisees, that when somebody's looking to invest in a business, they have to, of course, believe in the mission, and they, of course, want to make money doing it. And you guys are big proponents of the e-waste recycling and reducing the landfill waste. So tell me a little bit about that, about the initiative itself.
Yeah, so this is something that we started and was a focus of ours back in 2011 because we saw what people were doing on things that we didn't buy, is that they would go out and we'd see them throw it in a garbage can outside, or they would go out and they wouldn't be sensible on how that they were going ahead and dismissing. So there's opportunities to go ahead and recycle. We partner with local recycling plants that come in and use us as a drop center as well. So That's a big mission of ours. And when people understand that, hey, I have, 3 or 4 phones, or I have these old computer screens or whatever have you, they're throwing it in, the local, garbage, and that's not the right way to do it. And that eats away at the planet. So we're happy to do it responsibly for you. Obviously, we're happy to give you money if there's value to it, but it's important to know that, just throwing it in the garbage can and it going out with the general, garbage pickup is not the right way to do it also. So that's a big initiative of ours. And that really hits home on some of these local communities, especially the more suburbanized, very close-knit communities. They want to make sure that they're doing it the right way for their kids and again, those local communities.
Sure, you guys doing the right thing. All right, let's get back to the numbers. So, okay, you started franchising in 2020, and I've mentioned this on a few episodes. Anthony and I talk about this. I can't believe the number of franchisors that started in 2020. It is crazy. And how successful these franchisors that are emerging are doing. So you start in 2020, you've got 24 open in 11 states, plus the one company owned in Massapequa, Long Island. And you have 74 more that are going to open this year, but 199 overall in development.
Yeah, I guess to take it back, how we got to 2020, and we weren't planning on 2020. Obviously, that wasn't the greatest year because of, that's when the COVID spread happened. But, we when we opened our business in 2011, we always wanted to expand. And we were always thinking about doing it ourselves. And I guess we put our heads down initially while we rebranded the business back then. And Eric had to put together the software, which took a couple of years to put together, but we were always thinking about ways to expand, and we were always planning on it. We were always putting processes in place for us internally to be able to open up 2, 3, 4 stores. So in 2017 or so, we picked up our heads and we had lines out the door. We didn't do one stitch of marketing, not $1 in outbound marketing. We were doing millions of dollars of sales out of this store in Massapequa, and I consider it a delocation. It's just something we certainly would improve location-wise in our system today. We were actually named in 2017 as the highest grossing secondhand store in all of Long Island. And you being from Long Island, that there's a lot of communities there, and there's several million people. So we knew that we unlocked the code. We knew that we had something. Our repeat customer rate at that point in time may not have been 70-something% like it is today, but it was certainly very high. It was typically 50-50 on repeat and new customers. So we said, listen, let's take it to the next level. With Eric's background in technology, I also have a heavy background in commercial real estate. I've been a part of nearly 1,000 transactions in New York City. So I had the business end covered. Anything that typically has paperwork or legalities to it typically hits my desk. Anything on operations and technology typically hits his desk. So we had a great partnership, and we were at that point in time, we're like, let's go ahead and expand. Mm-hmm. But we knew that this needed to be in every community. We knew that it needed to be in every urban, suburban community. There was nothing else like there, and we wanted that first mover advantage. And we knew that if we did it ourselves, just him and I, we were coming from New York, we'd be lucky to get into Jersey and Connecticut. So we were aggressive in business, but we're also conservative by nature. So I said, Eric, let's just take a few years, put together the right team around us, and let's go the franchising route, because that's a way that I know that we can expand nationwide. So we took those few years from 2017 to 20 to put together the right legal. Our attorney, Harold, yes. We put together the right franchise development team. We also bolstered up our corporate office. A lot of the people that have worked with us at the Massapequa store, we elevated them to our corporate office. So we got a bunch of people there now. And so in 2020, we put together the right team around us. We were stamped and ready to conquer the world and get it out there. So since then, it's been really like a rocket ship. We've had now, like we mentioned, 25 stores open. We have them in all different types of communities. We have them urban in Brooklyn and Manhattan. We have them highly suburban in North Carolina. We have them coast to coast, Phoenix, Seattle. So we have them proved out in all different types of markets across the country. We now have, another 50 or so that are set to open. We're building out, I think, 42 right now, but we should hit about 75, maybe more by the end of the year. We have 199 within the system in 32 different states. We also have now master agreements out for 3 different countries outside of the US. So we are growing, and we're excited about it. And most importantly, the stores are doing very, very well. Another fact, or another percentage, I guess, that we're very proud of is that over 75% of our franchisees that have come into our system, so 3 out of 4, have either upsized their original territories and unit counts or have taken additional territories outside of their original territory. So we're very proud of that a lot of our growth has come from within with our existing franchisees. And Eric and I love that. That's the way we want it.
Well, it's a great characteristic of a healthy brand, right? When your franchisees want to buy more, and that attracts new franchisees when they see that existing 8 franchisees are buying more locations or more territory. I want to go back, Stephen, you mentioned about the first mover advantage and the reason why you franchised. And we can't overstate that enough, because I like to kind of address to the audience, because we do have other emerging founders or folks that are thinking of franchising their concept. You gave one of the most, valid reasons on why franchising works. There's no way you and Eric could have opened this many locations if you did this corporately owned, right? I
agree with you. I think first mover location is important. And I think that having the right people in your system are equally as important. I know that's a general statement.
Yeah.
But, Eric and I have been doing this for 20 years. And I can tell you with kind of an honest statement, if it takes us another 20 years to build out our company correctly with the right people nationwide, we're happy to do it. One of our most important things when bringing people into the system, and it may sound a little corny, but we want good people. We want people that, we trust are good to the core. Everyone that we get on these pre-discovery day calls with, and we have many of them a day, most of them are qualified to get to that point where they're speaking to Eric and I, the 2 founders. Most of them are qualified or have a bank account, and that's an important part of it. That they're qualified, accredited, investors or business people. But we've said no to a lot of people, and we want people that are good people. We want people that we can count on to build out certain territories throughout the United States correctly, and treat the customer correctly, and go ahead and train their employees correctly. And that's why we chose a lot to grow within, where we're very loyal to our first movers and our franchisees. And as long as they're doing what they're supposed to and following and listening to the system, when somebody else comes in and says, listen, I want this territory, we'll always go back to the people that were loyal to us and were first movers and are developing their territory the way they should, and say, listen, we have somebody that is looking for the other part of the neighborhood that you're in. We want to give you first, look or first choice on this. And it's not something that we put into our agreements. It's just something that we feel is the right thing to do. And typically we're doing that because we like them and they're doing what they're supposed to, but they're good people and we enjoy working with them.
Sure.
So I think having the right people in your system is just as important as being the first mover, because throwing stores out there here, onesies and twosies, that's great for store counts. But at the end of the day, it serves us well as the people that are reaching out to our area developers. It's better for us to have one person developing 10 stores and doing it the way that we want it to be to execute, or wanted them to execute and build out the territory, than us reaching out to 10 people with 1 store.
Right.
It's just better that way. It's better movement for the system, and it allows you to progress in a way that's comfortable for both us, the franchisor, and both them, the multi-unit franchisee.
Mm-hmm. One of the big questions, Stephen, that new franchisors always have, it's the fear of, how do I sell my first 10 or, first dozen? Where do I find these people? Where did you find your first dozen franchisees?
That's great question. So some of our initial growth came from within, again, or people that were just in our sphere. So these were people that we had one person that actually worked at our store in Massapequa. He moved down to North Carolina. I guess he got a job at Verizon, I believe it was. And he always knew that we had something. And he was there for the initial growth period from 2011 to about 15, 16. So we reconnected, and he's like, listen, I went to work at Verizon, but I can never get Paymore out of my head, and the great times that we had and how we built that initial store up in New York. So he said, listen, I'm down in North Carolina. I'm in a place outside of Cary. It's not that dense, and it's a little bit different of a neighborhood than New York, but I'd really like to open up a store here. So we actually kind of created the franchising around him. He was our first franchisee down in outside of Cary, North Carolina, which, population counts are much different down there. And we said, listen, let's continue to prove out our system. So he was our first franchisee. Again, he doesn't have much of a business background outside of what we, have worked with him on in our store. He came out of a Verizon store, and I'm, happy to say he's one of the biggest producers on a store AUV count. And, he's going on to his third store now. And, we're more than happy, and he's one of our success stories, and he's part of our family. So that was a big first mover for us, proving it out in a completely different market for someone who doesn't have any business experience. And he's changed his life, over the first several years here, with his Paymore stores. So that was a great start for us, and a great start for him.
Yeah. How exciting is that? I always felt like when I opened in a new market, even though I had the demographics to support it and I knew, okay, it should be successful, you still always, as a franchisor, you have a question like, I hope this is going to work when I'm new. And how exciting is it when you go from having this store in Massapequa, Long Island, which has a high density of population for those of you that aren't familiar with Massapequa, middle to middle upper class, right? Would you say?
Sure.
Demographic wise, real good density of population. And now you have your former employee wanting to open up outside of Cary, and you've got to be holding your breath a little bit going, we're about to prove that this thing works. And then when it does work and you help him change his life, that's just incredibly rewarding, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. We're very proud. We're obviously attracting all types of backgrounds now and successful people, and a lot of people from food. In fact, almost 70% of our franchisees have come out of these heavy lift franchises, which we can get into.
Yeah.
But the first few franchisees that we had, they were all kind of one-offs, and they were all spun off of, coming out of either corporate America or a job without too much entrepreneurial background.
Sure.
And all of them, our first handful, they're all on to multiple stores, and they're an integral part of how we built out our franchise system. So we're very happy with them. We're very proud of them, and now we're bringing in some people that are also huge value adds to bringing us to the next level for people who've coming out of 50 store backgrounds of restaurants or auto body or automotive rather. So that's just kind of the progression and the evolution of how we've come. But we're always grateful for our first few franchisees that are still with us and thriving.
I bet you'll never forget them. You will always remember your first franchisees. Well, okay, this leads me to obviously the next kind of segue to an ideal franchise owner. So, Stephen, what would you say are the ideal traits of a franchise owner? What traits do they need to have to be successful?
Great. Yeah. So we've learned a lot over the first, several years here of franchising. And, we've seen a couple constant characteristics that we harp on now. So again, going past, them being a good person, we've seen that people who have scaled successfully in the past have been great franchisees, and those are people who have typically gotten into their second Paymore store within 6 months, as opposed to someone who may not have the success in scaling something previously that may take them, the full year to get into their second store. I know that's a general statement, but it looks like two different ways as far as what we've seen, in our first 40 or 50 franchisees, is that a lot of them are coming out of different franchises before, and they've scaled a lot of restaurants where they've come out of 30 or 40 or 50 Domino's franchises before, or we've had some people come out of sub shops like a Firehouse Subs. They've had 70 or 80 of those. So they've scaled in their background individual units or areas or area developments, and they've done that successfully. So they know how to get into a store. They know how to listen, which is very important.
Sure.
To what we've done. And we're one of one. We're different. You can't come out of, it's not like coming out of a pizza franchise and going to a hamburger franchise where there's a lot of carryover. We're completely different. I'm doing this 20 years, and with the technology that we have, we've made all the mistakes. We have the system, and it's important for them to listen. And you'd be surprised how many people with less business background listen less than those with more business background or savvy, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of counterintuitive if you
Right.
think about it. So those people have scaled. They know how to run, people and systems and structures. They know how to listen. So, that's one part of it is them scaling something. It doesn't really necessarily have to be franchising or different businesses or unit counts.
Mhm.
We've had a lot of people that have come out of corporate America. We've had some, tech executives or just executives as a whole that have been working, for some of these larger companies for 10, 20, 30 years. And they're finally at a place where they say, listen, I want to create equity, I want to create a dynasty for my family. And they've been successful because they've also grown sales teams or divisions on their background. So actual human capital they've built, and that's carried over successfully, in franchising. They may need a little bit more help on kind of the blocking and tackling of actually owning retail
Mhm.
units, but overall they've scaled successfully. So that's one important trait. The other part, a little bit less important than the successful scaling background, but them coming in to our system with some sort of structure or team. And they don't not necessarily need to have 20 people coming over from their previous job, but maybe a GM or somebody, an area district manager or something like that. We've had a lot of people come in with family, whether it's, brothers, cousins. We've had a few people come in with, 3 or 4 of their sons and daughters and help out, or their wife is coming in with them. So they typically, from what I see, they have a head start. So they have people they can trust. They know the person that they're coming in with or people that they're coming in with. So they're able to get to a certain number in their store in month 2, as opposed to somebody hiring a new district manager or area developer once they come on to our system and maybe hit that same number in month 3 or 4 because they're just getting to know whoever they're hiring. We've seen some success in that, them coming in with a certain structure or team or just a few people that they're comfortable with coming into the system.
How many people do they typically need when they open up a store, and what's the footprint of a typical size store?
Great question. So, our retail, we like to think of as kind of new age retail. It's a little bit different. You got to kind of change your mindset with what our business and brand is as opposed to traditional retail. And there's kind of several examples of this, and you brought up 2 of them. So we run our stores, believe it or not, off of about 3 to 4 people.
Really?
Which when you're coming out of a food franchise and you're running a restaurant and you have to deal with 20 or 30 people and payroll and
Right.
liability and deliveries, it's a complete change of kind of mindset. We work our stores often. A lot has to do with our technology and our systems that we put in place. They make running a store so efficient and so tight that you don't need 15 people working there. So the low store count and the low labor, our average labor percentage on our store is like 10 to 12%. And from what I hear is from some of the food people that are in a system, it's, a half or a third of what they're typically used to. So that's a breath of fresh air for a lot of people coming into our system. And our labor pool, maybe outside of that GM or area district manager, is really 20-somethings that like technology, that like, touching technology, playing around with technology or gaming all day. And it's almost rhetorical to say that. But these are 20-somethings that have to work, that want to work, and they'd much rather be in a relaxed, fun environment, playing around with, the old electronics as far as their gaming or the new electronics that are coming out, as opposed to, maybe flipping burgers or changing oil. So the people that we have there, they typically like working there. It's a relaxed atmosphere. If they're good front facing with clients, they're in the front of the store making deals. If they're not, front facing, with clients as far as what they enjoy, and they're more kind of closer to the vest, they're great for the back end of the store where they're just testing products and listing products and things of that nature.
And how big is a typical store?
Our stores vary, so we're very nimble with that. It's an easy build out. So our average store right now is about 1,500 square feet, but we have stores built out every 100 square feet from 500 to 2,500. So if it's a little bit more of an urban area or a high barrier to entry market, we have stores that are 600, 700, 800 square feet. Think of, for a New York reference, like we have a store in Manhattan, we have a store in Brooklyn, much smaller stores. Then we have much larger stores in more heavier suburban areas. And we can build these out pretty easily now. We've gotten them down very efficient. The key to our build outs is that it's a light lift. And what I mean by that is that, we don't have 15 links in the chain, as far as contractors. We have one contractor who comes in and builds the entire store out. And if you've seen our stores, it's really just some cabinetry that's all modular. Outside of the front of the store, which just, it's just some cabinetry and some casing. In the back of the store, it's just some tables, some computers, and some storage facility. Mm-hmm. So outside of that, it's not really much of a heavy lift. We don't have any capital equipment. We don't have any venting. We don't need special electric. We don't need special HVAC. So all we need is just a vanilla box. Outside of a vanilla box, it's just that one contractor I've told you, and we can get these stores for a typical store built out for 100 to 125,000. All in turnkey.
And pretty quickly, I'd imagine, too.
Yeah, that's right. So we don't need any heavy permitting because we don't need any of that heavy capital equipment. Mm-hmm. So we've gotten our stores down now to 2 to 3 months build out, which means that the store owner is making money a lot quicker, right, as opposed to waiting for permits or Department of Health. And also the landlords like it because the landlords are getting their rent. Obviously, we'll try to negotiate the best we can to get as much free rent or TI as possible, but they're getting their rent in month 3 or 4. They don't need heavy TI packages. There's not a lot of things that they have to wait for. So it's good for the store owner or the franchisee. Obviously, it's great for the landlord. And I think the final piece of the puzzle with that is that we're a destination point. So again, switching from normal retail, you need to be on the best corner. You need to be next to Apple or Chipotle, paying Lord knows how much in rent. We don't need that. We thrive in B centers because we're a destination point. People find us through our marketing efforts, or now they're getting used to us in certain markets. So that B center, typically you have better negotiating power, but the rent for those B centers, is typically 30 to 50% less than those A centers, right? So our franchisees and our stores can certainly handle, the rent for those A centers, but that's 30 or 50% savings to our franchisees that we can be in the shadow center or the center across the street or a good strip center down the block from Apple. Mm-hmm. So that's a good point as far as ongoing savings for our franchisees as well, that we only care about population. We don't care about driving traffic area or daily driving traffic towards a store, which is usually what rents are based on. Sure. We just want population. If there's population, if there's housing, if there's a community, there's electronics that need to be bought, sold, and traded.
Nice. I'm thinking as a potential franchisee now, Stephen. So 2 things were going through my head. One, I'm thinking about, okay, I'm buying the product. So number 1, I want to turn this inventory over as quickly as possible, right? I don't want to start building inventory because that's money. And 2, am I strictly selling this out of the storefront or am I also reselling this online? And if it's online and in person, what's the mix?
Great point. So yes, so you want to turn around that inventory with our system, our POS system, and the technology that we have an inventory management system that's built in there already, and it's dynamic. So you can reprice your entire store with one switch of the button. So it's not this archaic traditional retail that you're used to. So that inventory management system is ideal. And typically, if you're following that, you will sell the item that you brought in within minutes, if not minutes, then hours. So you can turn around that product pretty quickly. The mix between how we sell that is 70 to 75%, again, depending on where it is, as far as the store location, 70 to 75% e-commerce, mm-hmm, and 25% in-store retail. Which again, with that e-commerce aspect, you got to, again, change around the typical way you think of retail, where you have to have the lights on to make money. With us, that's not the case. Because of 75% of our sales is retail, you're making money while you're sleeping, or you're making money while the store is closed, because online you're still clicking out those sales. In fact, some of the busiest times of our store are Saturday night or Sunday when we're closed, because people are online perusing and buying. So when we come in on Monday, we have 80 or 100 packing slips or things sold that was done while the store was closed, which allows us to keep very moderate hours. Even though Eric and I work, hundreds of hours a week at this point in time, we always wanted our concept and our business to be a quality of life type of business where, Eric and I have families, we're family people, we have a bunch of kids between us. We wanted our franchisee to be able to go home and eat dinner with their family or spend some time on the weekends going to their kids' games. So our hours, because of that e-commerce factor, is only 10 to 7 Monday through Friday and a couple hours on Saturday. So that gives the owner flexibility in the store, but also the flexibility to scale because they're not having to put 200 hours a week into that store to get it up to a certain level.
Wow, that makes a whole lot of sense. And now I understand why you're growing as fast as you are. It makes total sense to me. What's your vision, Stephen? How big is big? What's the number of locations you think you guys are going to build out across the U.S.?
Along with our retail, and our business as far as what we consider it to be the new retail, the way that Eric and I look at things, we also like to think that we're kind of the new age franchisor, like kind of breaking through a lot of the archaic ways that people look at franchising. We understand what works in New York doesn't work necessarily in North Carolina as far as how many stores should be there or population counts or driving traffic. So we look at every area separately across the country. And we look at each franchisee separately, because our approval methods may not be, the methods of what Burger King or McDonald's would be. We have to look at the territory differently, and we have to look at the franchisee differently. So we look at different development schedules through different lenses for each one of those, buckets. That being said, we're not looking to put these on every corner. We give our stores enough breathing room to build out. And again, because you're doing it on population, it allows us to be a lot more accurate on where these stores should be, within a kind of 1 or 3 or 5 store radius, depending if it's urban or suburban. So our store count will be less than, a lot of these food franchisees, but we think we can be at, 750 to 1,000 stores nationwide within a reasonable amount of time, and then filling in some of the open gaps thereafter. But we're looking to spread them out to begin with. Again, give a lot of breathing room and give a lot of runway to our current developers. But I think that's a pretty accurate and conservative viewpoint for the next several years.
Sweet. If I was a new developer, are you open to selling me multiple stores, like a 3 or a 5 pack?
So we're conservative about what we give out and what we award, if you will. So if you're a newer developer, we'll try to keep those area developer or area development schedules digestible. We're not looking to put one store. We're not looking to take a franchisee just to do one store. But if you are new, like let's just say you're coming out of a corporate background and you don't have the background of opening up, 10 or 50 or 100 stores, we may start you with a 3 or 5 pack. And help you build that out over a reasonable amount of time. We do award larger territories, but that's typically for people who have had, again, success in opening, multiple units over a certain amount of time with other brands.
Nice. What advice do you give to people who are considering joining your brand as a franchise owner?
Our advice is, we want them to speak to as many franchisees and validate with as many franchisees as possible. Again, we have a close-knit kind of family type of group here at Paymore. Everyone is looking, for us to continue to bring in people, not only that'll build out the brand, but will be a value add to the greater enterprise and the system. So a lot of our franchisees are more than happy to speak with, people that are fully vetted and approved, and a possibility of awarding territories or stores. So we want them to speak to as many of our people as possible. So that's one thing that we always try to do. But overall, we want somebody to really jump into this, head on. We're not looking for people who are gonna, this is the 9th or 10th brand that they're looking to put into their portfolio. Maybe they're realizing that tech should be a part of, their overall investment strategy on the retail level. We're looking for people who are gonna, be in the store and learn. This is a brand that can scale quickly and it has a low cost barrier as far as an entry. So, it's not $1 million to open up one of these stores. So you can grow quickly and put that money to good use to open up multiple locations. But we want them or part of their ownership group to be in the store the first several months so they can really understand, what our business is and get their arms around it. So, that's important to us, and that's advice we give to anybody, that we want them to have skin in the game and have some of ownership in that store and understand what we're trying to do here.
That's smart, man. Stephen, if someone was interested in learning more about the franchise opportunity, where do they go?
So they can contact us at Paymore stores. They can go to www.paymore.com. And then we also have our franchise development partners at FranceMart. So you can go to francemart.com or francemart.paymore.
All right, awesome. I always finish with the tip jar. So if I was an aspiring franchisor looking to franchise my concept, what's one piece of advice that you'd give me before I franchise this thing?
Be patient. Make sure you put the time in to get your systems to a certain place that you're 100% or close to 100% confident that you can scale and replicate. And then secondly, make sure you have a full, well-rounded team around you, especially a partner that balances some of the things that you may not be good at and vice versa.
Stephen, that is awesome advice. Thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it. Paymore, you and Eric are doing a phenomenal job. I wish you guys all the continued success. I'll be looking out for you guys. Thank you.
I appreciate it, Frank. This was fun. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fumey, or Emerging Franchise Group, LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.